So our divine guidance system. Well, as I understand it, we're all born with a complete system in place for being able to connect to our environment and the environment seen and that which is the unseen. That it is in us and we have to activate it. How we come to activate it can be conscious, and some of us, you might have had what you might call unconscious awakening. Something happened and you had an opening of something. You didn't plan it, you didn't consciously choose it. It happened, and then you got to consciously choose whether you were going to use what was offered to you. Just like electricity is available to us in the wall, we have a switch. We get to choose whether the electricity is available to us, and we have to flip the switch. And then we need to have something that receives the electricity that the electricity is going to do something with. So there are different components in getting that visible light to us here today. And just as humans must optimize their talents, these musicians up here and the singers, they didn't start out at the level of performance that they give us today. It's a process, and there was a learning and a growing and expanding into and then contracting back from and expanding into things that worked, and then things needed to collapse so they could have another expansion. And so this is the same with our guidance system. We can expand into it and then find that all of a sudden we don't have the connection that we used to have, and can be frustrated with it, and then we can allow ourselves to have a new moment of empowering our activated system. And I would say to this point, activating and optimizing my DGS, my divine guidance system, is the most important aspect of my spiritual journey, my spiritual awakening. It's allowed me to move from being one that was asleep and cut off from the knowing of the truth of my being. Not always being involved in the United Church. I was raised in the United Church, and there was always, at Sunday school we got outside, but there really wasn't a teaching for me to access that beyond the prayer process of God out there. And I was cut off from my ability to hear the voice of Creator within me, and I didn't trust. At one time, I didn't trust what I heard. So it's as though the voice had not given me what was available to me. And I felt a sense of aloneness on my journey, always searching for something out there. So it gave me a sense of aloneness. I was kind of like a traveler on this path with too little information available to make choices with confidence and ease. And so being able to access this inner guidance system, I'm going to take you through a little meditation a little bit later in the talk to guide you through a process that's been meaningful for me. And there are so many ways that people connect to their guidance system, and it allows us to regularly hear and use the guidance offered from that still small voice within. And the first time I really remember connecting with the truth of God in me was a time in my early 40s when I was in a psychologist's office for healing of childhood trauma. And we were creating a safe place in my psyche so that at any time during the session, I could go to that safe place, feel comforted, feel nurtured, and we were bringing in people who had passed, like my father and my mother who was still alive, and my spirit guides, and Jesus was in my circle. And then all of a sudden I just felt this deep, painful longing, and I started to cry. And Anne-Marie was my psychologist, and she asked, what was going on? And I said, someone's missing. And she asked, who's missing? And I said, I sobbed really, I saw God is missing. And she said, would you like to invite God in? And I said, yes, I want to invite God in. And the minute I said, yes, I want to invite God in, it was like this huge spotlight opened over the top of my head. like one of those big spotlights that they put on a building. And I felt and saw and knew a yellow orangey light. You know, when the sun can be, our sun can be very pale yellow, but sometimes it's that deep orangey yellow, and that, I could feel that color, and I could feel that it just wasn't going over me. I could feel the warmth of it. It was going inside my skin and into my muscles and my bones and my organs and my glands. And for the first time in my life, I knew my truth. I knew I was not alone. I knew that I had never been alone, that that had always been there, but my journey was to walk a path that had me believe I was alone. That was part of my, I believe, my soul-written story. And I felt held from the inside out and the outside in. I felt known from the inside out and the outside in. And that stream of light from what I'm comfortable calling heaven or middle of the cosmos, whatever you want to call it, was directly to me, in me, through me, and was the first aspect of my inner divine guidance system that was activated. And since that activation, well, you know, I often forget. I was talking about that expansion and contraction. I'll have something that triggers me into fear, and then it's like a radio that gets turned off, right? So our divine guidance system is a receiver. And just like a radio, if the radio is turned off, you're not going to be able to receive. No matter how you're trying, you're not going to be able to receive anything. So my guidance system can get turned off when I'm triggered into fear, when my amygdala goes into an old, outdated response. It never got brought to completion at some other time in my life. Now, some people activate their chakra system. So I know many people in this room are familiar with the chakras. I know that that's part of your practice, and making sure that they're opened and that they're balanced and aligned and working well, because these are energy centers that spin and assist in our body, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual body, working well. And there are chakra systems that they talk about. There are 12 chakra systems in the body, 15 chakra systems in the body. Some of them are 15 chakras, but some of them are out of the body. You know, whatever it is you're doing is perfect. And you can play around and try out different ways of chakra systems, but you don't have to know anything about this to do what we're going to do today, by the way. Now, in Unity, Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity in the late 1800s, he eventually came up with this 12 powers of man, he called it. Now, in his time, man meant human beings. So if you can, ladies, allow that it also means, in his concept, men and women. He calls it the 12 powers of man. And that's the 12 powers that we study here. Some of you have been in the class at Divine Audacity. Is an updated version of what do those 12 powers mean and why are they relevant today. And we light 12 candles at our Christmas candle lighting service in honor of the 12 powers, that when we bring these online, they get activated and they, through practice, get empowered and optimized, then we can live into the empowerment and the fullness of the life that we are desiring. And many people, in my world at least, understand the auric field. So the bubble, some people call it the auric field. In my Incan training, they call it their energy bubble. And the idea that we each have our own bubble, and even though you're sitting very close to one another, that your bubbles are like holographic images that can overlap, but they don't mix. Your energy is your energy. Their energy is their energy. And we have a right to keep our energy field pure with just our energy. Not that other people's energy is bad or wrong, it's just not ours. So we can empower our own sense of beingness and ownership and have a clearer field with less static. So going back to that Radio. If you've got the radio and you haven't tuned it in to the station that you want to listen to, then you're not going to hear the message that's for you. You might tune into another station that you go, wow, that's like in a language I had no idea what it's saying, so let me go back to what's for me. Oh, that's for me. But you could be in the static area where you never tune into anything. It's just static, static, static. And we know that with radios, you've got the antenna so that it can cut through all the other noise. There's a lot of electronic noise in our environment with the cell phones now and the microwaves and the gamma rays and the neutrinos. All these energies that we don't see with our human eyes. And so when we take in a lot of other people's energy and we hold on to it, that creates static in our system. And we often give our own power away to other people, to situations, to people, to events. We can even give our power away to a place on the planet that's we've experienced something a bit dramatic or traumatic. We can leave a little piece of our energy. And we have a right to pull that energy back to us, to bring all of the pieces that we have scattered around. We, because of our imagination and the power of intention in the human being, we get to do all of this by our sovereign command. And you'll see the swirling interweaving of the Kundalini energy. Some of you are familiar with that term, Kundalini energy. It's the energy that needs to be activated from the base of the spine and awakened as it goes up the spine to then activate the pineal gland, the third eye, they call it, as the brow chakra, the third eye chakra, and the crown chakra. And when all of those centers are working, it creates that halo over the top. And some people say that's why Master Jesus and the disciples and others who were considered enlightened have halos in their the pictures that are done of them. The people actually saw this sense of glow with these people because they had activated their system so fully and optimized it so completely. So there's one artist's rendition of being connected. That system within us needs to be turned on so we can access all the infinity energy. See that infinity cross at the top there? The infinite information that is accessible to us through our crown chakra. And you'll notice the lotus flower that this individual is sitting on. And if you imagine that that lotus flower has its stem going down into the water. If you've ever seen a lotus flower, it comes from the bottom of the pond, sends its shoot up, has its roots down in the pond, sends its shoot up to the top of the water, and then opens up when it gets to the top of the water. Usually muddy water. It grows in muddy water. But when it comes up to the top and the shoot opens, then the flower inside is left untouched by the mud. It is pristine. But it cannot be a flower on the top of the water unless it has the stem and it has the roots. And it's challenging if you have ever been told that you're spacey, if maybe you've been on a spiritual journey for a lot of your life and often didn't fit in and you daydreamed a lot. Daydream. It's challenging to be productive in the third dimensional world when we are not grounded, when we are not rooted into the energy field of the planet. Anybody else ever been called? You don't spend a lot of time in the ethers and in imagination, right? And so how do we easefully allow ourselves to start having more awareness and then more mastery over our own personal energy system? Well, there's so much, as you can see, if we went into every detail, this is like a day-long workshop and a year-long adventure for some people to optimize all of this. So I'm just giving you little bits of information, but there is a simple way that I'm going to share with you now. Anthony's going to come up and play for us, and I'm going to give you a feeling of having a knowing through your intention and your imagination as a sovereign being that has a free will and an imagination and all those other 12 powers and your chakras. You don't have to know how to fix them. You're going to be allowing the divine to balance things for you. So we're going to be singing God is Here in this room, and I'll take you into a meditation, and then we will finish our meditation. So I made my talk shorter because I'm going to be taking you through a longer than normal meditation. I wanted you to feel. Now when I say see, I just wanted to make one caveat. When I say see or know or feel or sense, if I say to you, there's a white schoolhouse on the top of the green hill. It has a black flagpole and is flying a red flag. Notice how you took that information in. Some people see it like painting like a picture in front of their eyes. Some people see it like a picture in the back of their head. Some people hear the words and somehow they feel and know those words, but they don't see it. So any which way that you create out of the words that I'm using to help you with your knowing or your picturing, can you let that be okay? And if I invite you to imagine something and you can't imagine it, ask yourself, well, if I made it up or if I took a guess, what would it be? What would it be if I took a guess? And take the first answer that comes. And you can't get it wrong. And so here we go. God is here in this room.